right, so it's the What Happened to Music podcast. We're here with DJ Haney, who just annoyed us so much to be on the show. So we're glad to have you here, DJ.
Well, I'm glad you lifted a restraining order so I could come. That was awesome. So thank you so much.
We know DJ through Rowan, and he's a big, a super fan of John Williams. So
yeah.
He came up with a list of his top 10.
The classical guitar player?
Yeah, no, not the... we'll talk about the difference between John Williams, the classical guitar player, and the composer later. Not the same guy.
Wait, what? I gotta redo this then. Oh, man.
So today's episode.
So we're going to be... DJ has a list of his top 10 favorite John Williams soundtracks.
Yeah, so, I mean, John Williams is, like, the quintessential, like, movie composer. Like, his music, I think, this totally works with identifying characters and coming up with themes. So I have my list here. I think I'm going to start with honorable mentions, and then I guess we'll just have a little dialogue. I think probably my classification for this list are songs that, or themes, or music that if it wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't make the movie. So, like, if you subtracted it...
So, if somebody else did the soundtrack, it would be very different?
It would be different, or even if it wasn't there entirely, it would just not be as iconic. So, I'm going to start with honorable mention. I'm sure a lot of people will get upset with this one, but I put Harry Potter in this.
Yeah, people are going to hate that.
I think Harry Potter was a good score. I don't think it's, like, something that people just hum on the streets. I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Run through the list, and then we'll...
Okay. So, I'm going to start with honorable mention. I think Harry Potter, definitely... Hook, I think Hook's a fun one, but not really that iconic. The Terminal, Close Encounters, 1941, and Home Alone. I think those are good honorable mentions. They deserve to be mentioned, but I don't think they're necessarily the quintessential John Williams pieces. Okay.
So read your top 10 list. Just run it down.
So
number 10.
Number 10, right. I need Paul Schaefer here. Number 10, I'm going to go with The Patriot. Number 9, I'm going with Catch Me If You Can. Number 8, I'm going with Saving Private Ryan. Number 7, I'm going with Superman. 6, Schindler's List. 5, E.T. 4, Jaws. 3, Indiana Jones. 2, Jurassic Park. And number 1, obviously, Star Wars.
Okay, so you're not any of the sequels. You're all putting them in the same...
I'm just going to loop them in. Same with Indiana Jones. Just kind of looping them in because, I mean, we could probably do a whole show about our top Star Wars songs. I think you guys already did something about The Force Awakens. But I'm just gonna loop.
That might actually be a good topic. So, looking at this list, Joe, do you see anything that you totally disagree with? Where's Lincoln on this list?
I thought Lincoln was good. I don't think it's memorable. As I said, my basis of putting this list together was coming up with songs that like people could instantly recognize. They're themes that, you hear, you don't even have to see any of the film to understand what it is. So, I pretty much feel like most of my top 10 lists, even maybe, 10, 9, maybe not necessarily as recognizable. But, I mean, you hear da-da-da-da, you instantly know what that is.
But now, so you put The Patriot above your honorable mentions.
Okay.
Defend that. Better than Harry Potter, better than The Terminal, better than Home Alone, and I don't agree with those.
I think The Patriot is, even though it wasn't necessarily the most historically accurate film, I feel like the music just made it much more watchable. And I feel like that the nationalistic approach to that score, talking about, the Revolutionary War, kind of has like a sense of pride. It's used in other areas such as, I believe it was used at the Super Bowl a couple years ago to do a veteran thing. The theme was used for that. It's been used in other events. So I really feel like even though the film isn't necessarily that critically acclaimed, I feel like that score gets overlooked a lot. And if you really took the time to just listen to that, I feel like it's a really, really well done score.
I'm particularly curious about Harry Potter because there's so many people who love those movies and it's such a huge subculture. Why would you say honorable mention? Because there are some themes in there that are recognizable.
I feel like it is a score that is recognizable, but I just don't. I feel like a lot of his stuff, when he started doing this, I think the first one was in 2001. When he started doing this, I feel like a lot of the pieces, they just seem very familiar, like you've already heard them before. And even though the main theme is something that it's pretty iconic, I don't know, it's something about that score really didn't jump out at me.
Since that's a lot more recent, and some of the more recent films are ahead of some of the or are below some of the older, more iconic films, do you think that's just at this point there's a certain aspect of John Williams where he's like, oh, this is just a John Williams score now, this is what it sounds like, whereas like the original Star Wars or Jurassic Park or Indiana Jones was much more, this is fresh, he's doing it right now.
I don't know about you, but if you ask someone to sing the Star Wars theme song and then to sing the Superman theme song and then to sing the Indiana Jones theme song, they usually can't because they start just singing the Star Wars theme song. Like even if you know it, if all of a sudden you had to sing it, all of a sudden it's you just start thinking of the previous one.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, if you look at the top test, and another reason why I made the list is it kind of showcases versatility. Like, if you take a look at Catch Me If You Can, a lot of jazz oriented in that.
I think Catch Me If You Can, actually, for me, would actually be much higher on this list.
Yeah.
I think that's one that, in terms of versatility, you go, oh, wow, this is a really good, great sound.
I think it's a great score. I don't think it's as instantly recognizable as, say, you know, E.T. or Saving Private Ryan, but if you take a look at the list, I mean, you know, Catch Me If You Can had the jazz, and you have the somber and kind of surreal sadness with Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. You had the wonder and whimsy with E.T., and then, of course, Star Wars and Indiana Jones. You have the adventure type of feel. And then you talk about Jaws. You know, Jaws is kind of what started his fame in music. You don't even necessarily. Yeah, I mean, you get any idiot, put them on the keyboard, they can play a white key and a black key and do the Jaws theme song. But you don't even see that character in the film until halfway through. You just hear the theme song.
Well, you know, actually thinking about it from a music education standpoint, the amount of instantly recognized themes as intervals. Mm-hmm. So Jaws is a minor second. Star Wars is a fifth.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Home Alone, the descending one, is like a third.
I have to listen to that one again.
Because it is on his honorable mentions.
Yeah. It is on his honorable mentions.
Obviously not recognizable.
I don't know how you didn't put Home Alone higher.
I like Home Alone, but it's like
I'd put that above Saving Private Ryan.
I'd have to disagree. I feel like Home Alone was one of those movies where I'm like, oh, John Williams did that? I really didn't care.
I feel like Home Alone is like a movie that, you know, it's a fun movie. It's one you like watch every winter, but it's just like, I don't want to say care, but it's like one of those films that's like, oh, John Williams did that?
Hold on,
nice.
I'm going to ask, we also have Vince in the studio. Vince, are you going to help my point or hurt it? You have to talk into the mic, Vince.
Spoilers, he's a guest star.
Hi. I'm going to agree with John. I think that when you're talking about...
I like how TJ just...
I think when you're talking about Home Alone, especially like if you compare it to Saving Private Ryan, I feel like there is at least if you listen to the movie, it's more, you hear that and you definitely heard that before rather than watching the movie. It kind of like sets in your brain. I feel like even after watching Private Ryan, it doesn't stick with my head after.
Get out of here, Vince.
Well, let's go. Where did he go? No, well, all right. Well, let's go with this, though, because one of my criteria, as I said before, is if that theme was not in there, would it make the movie? Now, take the very beginning of Saving Private Ryan. You got Omaha Beach, and you have this great scene where you just see everything in slow motion, and pretty much the sound dissipates, and the only thing you have is the music, okay? That's such an awesome scene, and if that song wasn't there, if that theme wasn't there, the Hints of the Fallen, it would not have the impact. Now take Home Alone. Imagine the scene where he's pretty much beating up all the Marvin Harry in the house.
You don't even know the names of the villains.
Merv Griffin was in that. You don't know that.
Very
topical. But no,
who played Marv?
Marv was Daniel
Stern.
Stern.
That's close enough.
Daniel Stern.
Putting you on the hot seat.
Hot ice. But anyway, no, but so take that scene, you get rid of the music, and you just put any random stuff in there. It's like,
okay, I got to agree with you.
can
Jurassic Park also, I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that. I think it's great. You put that above E.T., Jaws, Indiana Jones, and... Well, you put the above those three. Why?
This was my reasoning behind that, because I have a really good friend of mine who we actually got to see John Williams conduct the Boston Pops.
I was really hoping you were going to say a really good friend of mine that was a Triceratops.
No. Yes, we talk about it all the time. No.
Or Triceratops.
No, we saw John Williams in Boston, do the Boston Pops a couple years ago. It was one of the coolest experiences. If you're able to go see him live, even though I know all this music by heart, just to see it live is totally different. But he said, I think his best score is Jurassic Park, but I hate the movie. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if you can have someone that just likes the film just simply for the music, but absolutely hates the storyline, the plot of the film. That's pretty powerful. And when you think about it, that score is very iconic. I keep thinking, for whatever reason, because I'm an idiot or something, but Family Guy, the scene where he has the T-Rex and he goes dan 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 dan. It's just like such an iconic and memorable score. And when you take a minute to actually listen to all the other parts that aren't the main theme, you're like, wow, this is pretty intense. It's pretty powerful. So even though a lot of his themes they're similar to Indiana Jones and such, I just feel like it's such a iconic theme that even the new movie that came out, whether you liked it or you hated it, as soon as you heard that score, even though it wasn't John Williams' score, you heard that his theme, you're like, we're back. This is what it is.
Well, I'm disappointed that you've been able to actually defend your list.
What'd you think? I was just gonna crumble? Whatever.
Internet, let's ask you. Do you like DJ's list?
Is DJ an idiot?
Okay.
Also, let me ask you a question.
Let's do a real question.
Let's actually real quick. So what's the deal with episode 8 and John Williams?
Well, as far as I know, he's doing it. And that was kind of one of my. I'm the biggest Star Wars fan that there is, and I noticed you didn't even mention Star Wars about being at the top of the list.
I don't think anyone would have an issue with Star Wars being number.
But when I heard
there's a good question. If you think that Star Wars is not the number 1 John Williams score, attempt to defend that if on the internet.
I don't. Even episode 1's terrible, but the music's great, so it's hard to debate that. But one of my criticisms was when they were doing another movie, and when I heard they were doing 7, 8, and 9, the first question I asked myself was, is John Williams doing the music to it? Because I feel like if anybody else does it, yeah, it might be okay, but it's just not the same. So as
like
far
the Cantina theme from episode 7.
Actually, he didn't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, did you see our podcast?
I did see your podcast.
Yeah, that's.
So
I was referencing. There's going to be a link in the description.
Wow.
We always claim there's going to be links in descriptions, and then they never happen.
Yes, they do.
There will be a link to the description of how they don't have links in the description. No, but as far as I know, he's doing it, and I hope he. I don't want to say this and be facetious, but I hope he lives that long because he is 83.
Yeah, well, that's it is. It's funny because I mean that's like not even in a joking manner.
Yeah,
I mean it's like hopefully he lives.
Yeah, but hopefully he gets through 8 and 9, and I don't think he's doing any of the spin-off films.
He's not doing any of the spin-off. Well, at least from what you've seen.
I don't. At least, yeah, that's.
If DJ Haney's wrong, yelling at DJ Haney.
Rogue One, I think.
I don't think
the first one.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing any of those. He's tired.
I feel you also need to kind of transition John Williams out of it.
I
think a spin-off film would probably be better.
Yeah.
Where you just go, okay, if this didn't work, it didn't work off in the spin-off.
I don't know if this is a topic for another one, but what do you think, or who do you think would be like the next guy in the business that could kind of take over? I have my idea.
That's a good question. We'll save that for another podcast.
Okay.
Actually.
Well, part 2.
Joe, do you have anything else? This list actually held up.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job, DJ. The internet's going to hate you.
Well, the internet already hates me. But no, I worked on the car right here.